When high.
Oh, there we go. That was awesome. Bravo, Judah. Give you some props. It's a beautiful Wednesday morning. So you said the new Friday is Monday. So does that mean Wednesday is the new Friday for Real Talk?
I'm confused.
And what is Friday then? Because on Monday's show, you said the energy of Monday's show is the Friday show.
These things ebb and flow,
They
right?
ebb and flow.
They do ebb and flow. I'm learning that after 452 shows, that it ebbs and flows. And, I don't know, Monday was a pretty dynamic day.
Oh, dynamic.
Today is dynamic because we've got
Scotty Moe
in the office, and we're going to talk all exciting stuff about federal mortgage rule aims to benefit the less affluent, and we'll find out what that actually means.
Not as dirty as it sounds.
Yeah, the headline sounds nasty.
It's terrible, man.
The Biden rule, I think, is what it's being called.
The people that want it to sound dirty certainly have no problem making it sound that way.
That's a nasty headline. Rich people get punished to help the poor folks
I literally,
buy
and
houses.
we'll talk about this one.
That's what the headline basically made it sound. Did it not? It did. Judah says yes, the Biden rule.
We'll talk about this when we go live, but I actually had a client call me up and say, I should let my credit score go down. I'm like, no. Well, if you read it and without educating yourself, one can interpret that way. I was like, no, time out. No, that's a bad thing. And you'll talk about it, but all this stuff has kind of been priced in already, right?
Questions, comments, put them in the feed. We'll get that answer from Scotty Moe when the cameras go on. It's Real Talk. Quentin Beckham, welcome to the program. Thank you kindly for watching the show. Mary Kirby, welcome to the program. She is the Ma Dukes of Jason Kirby. She's watching the program as we speak. Give the show some love by hitting like and share and ask some questions. Keith Smith, camera loves Keith Smith. I haven't seen a camera that doesn't love Keith Smith.
Oh, stop it.
I mean, he's got is that fuchsia, that shirt? Fuchsia, if you may?
Are we going to go through the whole shirt color thing again?
I like it. It looks good.
I think it's purple.
I think that's fuchsia. Judah, is that purple? Is that fuchsia or is that purple?
Lavender.
Wow, it's lavender.
Not
Judah,
even
thank you very much.
Judah
Judah solves the problem.
Should we say that there's a Yiddish word for lavender? We want to go that
route?
Yeah,
Judah's becoming known as the Yiddish master.
I actually asked Bill Tucker, one of our great sponsors. I asked Bill Tucker in a meeting what the Yiddish word was for normal. And you know what his response was? You're a schmuck.
Bill Tucker, I'll tag him. Judah, let's rock and roll when you're ready. Let's get this party started. Let's get this party started right. It's Real Talk on a Wednesday. And Keith Smith is looking distinguished.
Got a board meeting to do today.
I see that. We will ask Keith and Scott the question of what they would do with the Crossroads store and if $6.2 million is the right asking price. That question's come on the feed multiple times. We broke that news yesterday on the I Love Seville show. The home to Dr. Ho's, the entire shopping center on the market, $6.2 million. J-Dubs, let's rock.
Quiet on the set.
Good Wednesday morning, guys. My name is Jerry Miller, and this show is called Real Talk with Keith Smith. Thank you kindly for joining us live on the I Love Seville Network in downtown Charlottesville. A show today presented by Ross Mortgage and Scott Morris. Ross Mortgage, Scott Morris, making dreams come true. Yes, the property in North Garden is percolating the socials. You name the social, people are chattering about the North Garden property that's now on the market for $6.2 million. I will get Keith and Scott's opinion on that property on today's program, but we have so much more we're going to cover first. Judah Wickower, let's welcome the gentleman to the program with a studio camera shot and a 3-shot following. Gentlemen, good Wednesday morning.
Hey, happy Wednesday. What's going on, guys? How's everybody doing?
Doing great. Doing great.
I'm drinking water, so it can't be all that good.
Okay. But you're here.
I'm here.
You're doing Real Talk with Keith Smith.
And Scott Morris and Jerry Miller and Judah over there. Yeah, the meds, too much coffee, and the doc says cut back on the coffee with the meds, so I'm drinking water today.
We're going to educate the audience over here. Scotty Moe, the show is yours. The market. What are you seeing today, my friend?
Today we're kind of flat, but the trend has been downward, and we're in like a, if the Fed managers across the nation could stop speaking so often, I think we'd stay that way. But we're in a downward trend. You know, we've come off the highs that we saw in December, and we've been trending downward ever since, and we're continuing down that path. We saw still some bank nervousness out there, and we're starting to see some softer earnings come in from corporate across the America, and what that is equating to is the bond market believing that the Fed is truly done, although I think they've definitely got 25 bips coming in May, and then another inch up, but there's probably a pause coming after that. So that, which has been in line with what I've been saying all along.
It has been in line with what you're saying.
So.
Some publications
Well,
are saying a chance for an increase in June as well. That's right now marginal. Some are reporting
Flat.
prognosticators are calling it a 25% chance that June's going to include an increase. Hopefully that does not happen, and the last one's in May. Keith Smith, jump in. The market, your eyes.
yeah. So I can tell you from a sales perspective, for being in the trenches, I just took a look at week over week. We do this all the time, right? Last Wednesday versus this Wednesday, there was a 61% increase in sales. We jumped from pendings from 66 last week to 106 now, but the inventory is pretty flat. It was 82 last week and 88 this week. So we've been talking about this for a while. Inventory is staying flat. I think you're seeing pendings jumping up. And actually, I figured out a way, and at some point we can talk about this, through my Paragon system, which is a bit clunky, is actually now can figure out what's sold, which is cash, which is conventional, and which is FHA, if that's of any interest to anybody.
I'm curious for
So
that.
speaking about that, and we'll touch base on that in a minute, but I think agents who are out there, you'll start seeing more FHA offers due to some of the changes that have come about that we're going to talk about. But yeah, and as far as the increase, the 61% increase, it was super duper competitive over the weekend. I had a grown man break down in tears on the phone with me yesterday.
I'd asked you not to talk about that in front of everybody. Please
But
don't.
You had a grown man, one of your clients break down in tears.
This market is bullshit was how it started, and then he deteriorated.
How'd you handle that? Walk us through how you managed that.
I started with, look, we knew this going forward, and you can't get emotionally attached to every offer. Continue to go out and look at, get a list, get that list into your search for the things that you want, and then go out and we'll individually attack things as you come up. Let's start looking at properties that maybe have a little deferred maintenance, or you think that your wife's dad was a contractor and knows some people. Let's put somebody in place that can walk through with you, and let's come up with some. Let's look at some other options to get you what you want, because if you are married to going after these choice properties, you're going to continue to have some feels, and just trying to open his eyes a little bit to what else is available to him and how we're going to be able to create the best plan going forward.
So I'm glad you brought
Nice.
that. I'm sorry, Jerry.
No, that was great.
I'm glad you brought that up, because I actually was thinking today on the way in about the emotional side of this, right? So let's kind of take numbers and stuff out of it. We put a home on the market on Friday, put it under contract last night, multiple offers, and my ride in was the phone call to the agents, right? I'm sorry, this didn't, and it's not just the buyers and the sellers at this point. There's a lot of emotional pressure on the agents, and I was very fortunate. All the multiple offers are on the table were what I consider Class A real estate agents, and you can start hearing the
Demoralization.
There you go.
The dispirit.
Yeah, there's a lot of people out there who need to feel a win. You got to put something in that column because
That's your confidence in the morning
Yeah.
to get up and put your suit on and your pants on
Yeah.
and your shirt on and go.
So last 7 days.
That's the juice that we chase. I mean, a lot of people say, it's interesting. A lot of people say, why do you get into business for yourself? I mean, I get into business for myself undoubtedly to make a living and to make a better future for my family. But I get into business for myself to meet people and to do deals. It's that juice. I mean, it's the competition of being the best version of myself in a professional setting every day. And part of that is closing deals. And it's interesting. It's interesting when you're in the business world, like we all are, when you don't close those deals, not only does it impact you
The bottom
professionally and the bottom line, but it does start impacting you from an emotional, confidence, psyche standpoint, where you start wondering, what am I doing wrong? Am I doing something right and wrong? Like, is my time do you ever think about
So I think
there's
about that all the time.
Yeah.
So there's
Activity breeds
there's this
activity.
show on Netflix. It talks about it's a bunch of different professional golfers, and
the long shot or something like that?
yeah, I think
The documentary with the pro golfers.
yeah. And
it's fantastic. I watched it.
And there's a line in there that where God, what's his name? He's on Live
Full
now.
Swing.
Full Swing.
Yeah. Is that Brooks Koepka?
Yeah,
that was the best
Brooks
one.
Koepka says, when you've got it, you never think you're going to lose it, and when you don't have it, you never think you're going to get it back. And I think that is the feeling that rides with people.
Strawberry.
He's got a sneeze right here.
Strawberry.
That's why he's saying strawberries. We're talking about, and anyone can relate to this. You don't have to be in the real estate business to relate to what we're talking about. The confidence that comes with closing deals.
Activity
And when you
always-
have a drought, how it impacts your confidence and how that creeps into other aspects of your life.
Activity
Other aspects of
breeds
your life.
activity. Positiveness breeds positiveness. Negative breeds negativeness. But again, these phone calls I had to make, which was a substantial amount on the phone in. It was like I had one agent say, "Well, how am I supposed to tell my client this is the 6th one they lost?" And we actually talked about that for 10 minutes on the
And
ride in.
This is what you did.
I said, breaking up, can't hear you. Breaking up, can't hear you.
You referenced probably the story of 13 deals with your daughter.
That's exactly
And how
what
they
I-
struck out 12 times, and on the 13th they got it.
I spoke from a place of experience.
Yeah.
That you just need to do that. But I'm looking at we've got the last 7 days, 80 transactions closed, right? 32 of them were cash. Just think about that. Out of 80 transactions, this is the whole footprint. 32 of them were cash. 33 were conventional. Then all the rest of them are like FHA's not specified. USDA was 2. VA was 6. Would love to see that number much bigger. VHDA. But almost half, not quite half, a little bit less than half were cash. And that's a demoralization because all these other offers were really good offers, right? The agents listened to what my client's concern was.
In most markets, you're talking winning offers.
Well, how do you turn down a cash offer?
You can't.
Well, you can. We've done that before, right?
It's difficult.
Well, if the price is X and the cash offer is
So
A.
the gentleman that was upset that
Emotional.
I was emotional, I was speaking with. So they were 10% over list price,
Yep.
and with a $10,000 appraisal gap. And I talked to him. I said, "Look, I'm with you that you're kind of stretched as far as cash in a pocket if you have to cover this." And this is your best offer, but at the same time, this is really strong. So even the reassurance that I understand where he's at with this.
Every single one of those offers on the table were strong
Yeah,
offers.
good offers.
If that cash didn't slide in, literally, I'm talking to our client at night, and the offer slid in as we were having a conversation going over the other offers. But yeah, it's an emotional roller coaster. To Jerry's point, You feed off of success, right? Success breeds success.
Oh, no doubt.
On that end of it. And then when you just don't have these successes, you start doubting yourself. Am I doing the right thing? So forth and so on.
This is what you do. You question the process. And I mentioned to the fellas, guys, before the show started, that my business has been in operation 15 years in May. And when you have 15 years of term or longevity, you have a process. And when you go through these droughts, sometimes you question the process. And that's the thing that you cannot do, is change the process that gets you to the finish line. You can pivot, you can innovate, you can improve the process, but throwing the process away or getting rid of the plan altogether is panic.
So the question is to Scott, right? We're just looking at 32, you're spot on, by the way, 32 to 33, right? What can we do to help the buyer who is financing compete? Let's assume we got equal cash offers. What can we do to help that? Or we just got to say, well, we throw up our hands, can't compete against cash? I mean, I've won against cash before on finance deals. So what can you coach us through?
Well, it
to
depends
help us
on,
with
I mean, that's a tricky question, because
Of course it
is the cash, if you're talking, is the offer equivalent to cash, or is it higher than the cash? If it's higher than the cash offer,
So it's interesting. I'll talk about what's on. I can't go into details, but I'll talk about it in just generality, that it'll make sense. It was very interesting because when I sit down with a client, I do a net proceeds sheet, right? So these are my multiple offers. This is your closing costs, right? This is how much it costs you to get the house, seller concessions, yada, yada, yada. And it was interesting. The next closest offer, actually net proceeds was exactly the same as cash. The only difference is there was no appraisal, right? Everything else there was a home inspection that was still in it, which was great. It was, HOAs included in it, so that was given all the way through. But it was interesting. I expected a different number, but it was actually came out about $1,000 difference between the highest financed one and the cash one. Does that make sense?
Sure, but so I guess my opinion there is, if we're in a downward rate trending environment, and the seller has the option to accept a cash offer or an equivalent offer that's being financed, and they both have the same inspection terms, and you take the cash offer and things don't work out, you go back to market and you get
Well, that's exactly right. So that's the risk.
I don't know that is a risk right now with the inventory that we have. I mean, if it's priced right, if it was overpriced to begin with, and you sat on the market for a month,
we priced it right.
Yeah, that's all right. That's what I'm saying. If it's been sitting for 90 days and you haven't had an offer that they've been willing to accept, then you have a problem. But no. Well, multiple offers coming in within the first 3-5 days, then you take you take the risk on the best offer you can receive, and then if you go back to market.
Good morning, Quentin Beckham. Love when you watch the show.
On Wednesday, this question came up, and so in your footprint, which is pretty substantial, what markets are you seeing slowing down a little bit, or where there isn't multiple offers, or?
That's the conversation I had yesterday. With people in 3 different markets who were having some feels where, look, I know this doesn't make it any better, but this isn't just you. This isn't just here. Not in Virginia.
Yeah, well, we looked on Wednesday that Buckingham had a bit of a drop.
Okay.
In Buckingham, it was quarter over quarter. There was I think a substantial. I'd have to dig up the number. I can't remember what it was off the top of my head, but it was a substantial drop. And I think it's because it's at the price point, right? The interest rates, I think, are just impacting enough, and folks are kind of moving in a little bit. But it was pretty substantial.
Well, let's jump on this. Am I being punished because I have good credit conversation?
There you go.
No, you're not being punished. The FHFA, the Federal Housing Finance Agency, has an obligation to try to create, their mission is to try to create more affordable housing. And there have been a couple steps taken this year to do that. One was the lowering of some funding fees for the VA and mortgage insurance for FHA loans to make them more competitive. And one of the things that the Fed side was worried about was if we continue down this downward trend in rates, that there'd be an avalanche of refinances, and these loans would be, due to the rules that they put in place in 2008, 2009, mortgage companies would be forced to repay investors for loans that they had just purchased because they were refinanced inside of a term period. So what that means is I can't charge you an early payoff penalty for paying your loan off early because you took advantage of something. But we as a company are obligated to repay the investor. So we can lose largely inside of that 6 months EPO period. And the Fed thought that this was a danger for the economy if something like this were to happen. So that's how this kind of started down this road. And then they also put in some tiers that made it slightly more costly for someone with better credit, but does that mean that you should lower your credit score to get a better deal? No, you're still going to get a worse deal. You just wouldn't get as good of a deal as you would have before. And these are loan level price adjustments. They put these things in all sorts of places. The first thing that they did 2 years ago, when second homes were becoming, while mortgage rates are still very low, people were going out and buying second homes, and then they were turning them into Airbnbs. And the Fed considered that a risk. So they took a huge LLP and placed it on second homes, so it became more costly from an interest rate perspective to buy a second home. In doing that, that slowed down the purchase of second homes because they feel as the economy slows, what's likely to happen is that there will be a softening in the Airbnb investment rental market, and those properties will be the first ones that people walk away from. They won't walk away from their primary mortgages, but they'll walk away from this investment property that's no longer performing in the way they wish it would perform. So, how does that affect the LLPAs that are in place now for purchasers and refinancers? If you're someone who has purchased a home, put down 20%, no mortgage insurance, you're probably paying a slightly higher rate, and it's going to be more costly for you to refinance. And the reason that they did that is because you are the target audience that's going to refinance. You should most likely have the cash to execute a refinance down the road, and you definitely have the equity to get to a lower rate. Whereas someone who maybe took an FHA, so they're at 96.5% debt to income, they don't have the cash reserves necessary to execute a refinance. So even though they wanted to get to a lower rate, they don't have the closing costs to able to fund the refinance. So those loans aren't going to be captured, and they're not going to hit investors, whereas your loan, you're going to take advantage of that as soon as you have the opportunity to.
That's a good explanation.
Wait,
What do you think about this?
Dude, I think it's the government. I mean, I don't think that this is like,
This is
this
Scott
isn't some
talking.
socialist, like, we operate inside of the, I've got my opinions about all of this, but at the same time, there's already all these rules in place. You're not going to you can't unring the bell that we already operate inside.
No, I get that. But what do you
And
think about it? Do you think it's equitable?
I think that this is one of the better things that they have done. But from how it affects everyone perspective.
What does that mean?
I think that the government does things all the time that I think are effed up, that I generally disagree with. I think this has there's a penalty. You're already paying these penalties in many, many ways that you don't see or complain about. The story talks about this is happening May 1st. Investors have priced this in. Everyone who's complaining about it is already, either unaffected or they didn't know that they were affected by it when they locked their loans and all these other things. Like it's something that people were up in arms about that they didn't know that they were mad about.
Well, I mean, it's a talking point because it's in the news cycle.
Well, it's the way they did it, right? It's the way they, it's the clickbait
Yeah.
scenario.
Yeah, of course. So let's feed the rage. I'm upset that Tucker Carlson's not on the news anymore, so I don't know what to be mad at anymore.
So now you're being mad at this.
Tucker's going to come back on the news. And if you're just following that storyline, he's no longer at Fox.
I'm kidding. I really don't care whether he's on
Yeah,
television.
and that was a joke from
yeah,
Scott, because there's a lot of folks out there that have a take or a feel on Tucker.
Well, the other side is Lemon's out too.
Yeah,
Well,
it all
you know,
happened in within 24 hours.
No one's telling me what to be mad about anymore, and I'm very upset.
Well, I have to tell you, Scott, you're not out. You're in. So here's the takeaway. I'm going to boil, and that was really masterclass.
Yeah, great explanation.
And it's very rarely when there's a guest on, I'm intently staring at you and listening, and I was doing through that trying to glean.
What are you saying about the guests we've had on the talk show?
No, it's Smith wandering
Oh,
off
okay.
with his ADD.
Okay, it's more about you.
It's all about me.
It's all about
It's
you.
all about me
Okay.
and my ADD wandering off with a squirrel in the back over there. But here's the takeaway. This all happened in January, right? Or February. The mortgages have been priced into this point. Is that correct?
Yeah.
So if
That's what I'm saying. Like everybody's like, well, oh my gosh, this is
They've been
happening
paying it,
now,
they
and I've
just
got to
didn't know
deal
they
with
were
it.
paying it.
Yeah, exactly. This is something that's
It's how the
been-
message was delivered. And how the message was delivered was through sensationalistic news outlets
so
that twisted the headline to drive ratings.
so here's the problem, and
And now we're talking about it.
and I'm going to get on my soapbox here a little bit. This is the problem with this. I don't even want to call it media. It's entertainment is really what it is. I had a phone call yesterday from a potential buyer, honestly thinking, well, I'm going to let my credit score lower.
No.
And I went, whoa, time out. They literally were thinking, well, hey, if I let my credit score go down to 6 something or whatever it was, whatever the math is on it, that I'm all of a sudden I'm going to be paying less in my mortgage rate. I went, no, that's not how this works. Let's talk to a trusted advisor. Let's talk to Scott. Let's go ahead and do this. You don't want to do that. But because of these headlines and because of this clickbait thing, people are thinking things they shouldn't be thinking instead of reaching out to talk to it. I mean, literally, this was a guy with a master's degree. He was a smart fellow. Because
I
I'm just
think
going to
a
let my
lot of
interest
that's
rate.
just is jawing at the no, they're not actually going to stop paying their bills in order to.
So it's interesting you said that because the conversation went from that to I can't win a house, right? So this goes back to the beginning.
The mindset.
Yeah.
This emotional roller coaster everybody's on.
I mean, we talk about the impact professionally of not closing deals and what that can do to people with a DNA makeup like us. Imagine the impact of striking out 12 times in a row to buy a home and the impact that can do with anyone's DNA makeup.
And
That's what's happening.
And the point I'm trying to add to it, it's not, that's not talking about us, but it's also not about the buyer and the seller. It's about everybody in the chain, right? We're not getting deals done. You're not getting deals done, right? And deals is wrong word. We're not helping people with buying and selling homes. So we start questioning ourselves, as you said. Then that transfers to the client. The client's looking at you, Keith. I need you to help me through this. And if you're questioning yourself, it becomes this vicious cycle to go through it. So I think. We talked about this on, what was the Monday, right? Everybody needs to be a mensch. Everybody needs to be a good human. Everybody needs to be good to one another and help us through this.
And it's especially important to emphasize that no one at this table sees this problem being solved anytime soon.
Right. So if I had any take on what the FHFA announcement and what the government should do, it goes back to what I've there should be some sort of incentive towards small to mid-sized builders to increase production there. More so than the Syntex owned.
But how if they don't have the land to build on here?
I have an interesting stat to share. I wasn't going to talk about this today, but I was asked by a couple of Board of Supervisors to go ahead and take a look at the sales quarter over quarter because they're doing the budget stuff. And they asked me specifically to include new construction in numbers, not how we usually pull them out.
Yeah.
And it's really interesting. If you don't use, and what I'm looking at has new construction numbers in it, but when you pull the new construction out for Albemarle County quarter over quarter, you actually go down a little bit. You include it, it goes up 3%. But it's interesting, the attached product, which is the townhomes, went up 18% quarter over quarter. The volume is substantially down 20%, right? There's 20% less. But it was very interesting because they wanted me to include new construction because the assessment has new construction in it, right? So they wanted to compare apples to apples. So that's telling me new construction's been picking up a lot the last couple of months, because when we did this about a month ago, those numbers were not like that. So I think you're seeing new construction picking back up. And the reason I know that is I'm getting phone calls from people looking at dirt to develop. So that's starting.
This conversation came up Tuesday on our conference call. Are we seeing new construction interest pick up because rates are dropping? Is that why we're seeing new construction uptick?
I don't know. I mean, this is
I think
just
rates could stay elevated and new construction is going to continue to win because there's nothing.
Better than you?
No, it's because it goes back to there's an entire. I'm not going to guess at the numbers, but I'm just going to say there is a large percentage of people who are trapped in these low rates. They are not going to come out of a 3% mortgage rate and get a better house. They're going to be selling a house either to capture debt and make a lateral move or downgrade because they can't afford to step up into a higher payment.
That's 100% true.
And that is why that if that inventory can't release and there's nothing to be done with it, it's dead inventory sitting, that then you've got to have something to replace it. And then we get into we're not going to build our way out of this, but at the same time that's going to be a continued winner, whether it's done at an affordable price range or whether it's done at whatever the new limit is.
And for the people in that position, it's gonna take a long, slow roll for that inventory to come into market. The folks that are trapped, that's legitimately the inventory that comes to market with death, divorce,
Bingo.
or job move.
Yep.
And that's the inventory when it's based on those things takes longer to become active, is what you're saying.
Yes.
What do you think about that, Keith?
well.
John Blair made that point close to a year ago.
I think
John's watching right now. Literally close to a year ago, he made that point.
I think I've been pretty consistent from when it was 3% that this is not a good thing, right? And it's just continuing not to be a good thing because it's interesting you use the word trap, right? Right? Because you are kind of trapped, right? You can't, if you have to move, and I
No,
don't,
not even have to move. Think about this. We'll go with the scenario we're in. We got in March of 2020. We are considering moving. But to Scott's point, since when we got to now, everything is 35, 40% more. So if there was a move to happen to capture that equity, for us to truly enjoy the equity, it would likely be lateral, and that's not what you want to do. For it to be an upward move, we can do it, but then it's going to eviscerate and evaporate all the equity we essentially accrued, and then our monthly payment is sizably larger, and then our term starts over at zero. Our 30 years start over at zero.
right back to start one.
But that's what he's saying.
But you're fortunate enough. If you had to do it, you could do it, right?
Yeah,
You're
right,
fortunate
right.
enough to do that. What Scott's talking about.
No,
which
I don't
is
think
what-
he's talking about the ones that are forced or can't. I think he's talking, well, maybe I don't want to speak for him. He's talking about maybe all scenarios?
So I'm talking about there is a very specific demographic. Let's say non-business owners who they're either in a salary position or their prospect for a raise is at most between 3 and 6% year over year. They qualified in a certain range when they were at 3%. So then they'd be moving into a 5% rate, and so even if they sold their house, they could not then execute a step up. So where there's no incentive for them to then make a transition unless they were moving out of the area.
So, real life, can't get into the details. Have a husband and wife that are divorcing, bought at this 2 or 3%. They have to sell the house because of the divorce, and they can't find something to buy. So we're trying to help. Talk about an emotional wreck. Try sitting around a table with a couple that don't want to talk to one another and trying to help them move forward with their lives on that end of it. But now they're trapped because can't go buy because they're not going to end up they're going to end up with some equity. They got to split it in half and all that divorce stuff on that end of it. But the conversation is A, we don't like each other. B, we're getting screwed because we're at this where we bought at 3%. Now we're at 6 or 7%. I don't know where to go. And we're on our third sit down with them, which is kind of the emotional part of what we do. But that's they feel trapped in it. They just can't go anywhere. Just an interesting thing. I haven't looked at this in a while. New construction, Albemarle County, in pending from January 1 to today, 126 homes are in pending. That's a huge number. I have to take a look at what's sold. But right now, since January 1 to now, 126 homes in Albemarle County, new construction went into pending on that end of it. There has closed 136 in the same January 1 until today. So I think what's happening is people are getting, if that can afford it, and they have the capital and the ability, they're just not buying an existing home that's going down in volume. They're just going out and having something built.
Let me ask you this.
And oh, by the way, we're at 590 is the median pending price.
590K.
Yeah.
Oof.
Jesus.
Let me throw this to you here. Besides rates lowering,
611 is the sold.
Besides rates lowering, how do you get more inventory? Besides lowering rates. It's not going to be the zoning. That's not going to happen. I don't want anyone to tell me it's a 5% turns into 10%. I see Neil watching. Neil, I'm all for it as well, but it's not going to happen anytime soon. Besides rates lowering,
And he's talking about growing the 5%.
The growth area in Albemarle County. That's not going to happen anytime soon. Besides lowering rates, how do you get?
I don't want to answer that question
Why?
because it's not a good answer.
Your answer is raise rates up and make people. What's your answer?
My answer would be that there would be an ocean of defaults that would have to drive
Okay,
that.
that's so. There's the follow up. So is your position, and this is the ruthless capitalist, if you may, here, or free market guy. I guess the ruthless Darwinistic free market guy. Your position is we need to keep raising rates up, so people start hemorrhaging and can't manage the debt service. So then they start defaulting, and then that's how inventory comes on the market.
Time out.
I am not taking that position.
Okay, how do you get more
Which
inventory?
interest rate are we talking about?
Well,
We're talking about the mortgage rate, or we're talking about the
We're talking
Fed
about
rate?
the Fed rate.
yeah, what Powell's doing is
Okay, got it.
tied to everything.
I just want to, I want to make sure.
How do you get more
understand which
inventory?
Well, that would do it. That would certainly break things to the point to where, but then all that's going to do is then again, because once that's done, so here's how that would work. If that were to be the case, let's say they didn't stop in June. Let's say they cranked us back up to like 8.
A lot of people are saying something's going to happen in June. That they're going to do a quarter point in June.
I think that's a
Let's
gimme.
say they move the prime target from 5.25 to 6.25, and they pushed until September. Going into next year, there would be an enormous collapse of the U.S. economy. They would then turn around and push rates back down. Mortgage rates would fall to below 3% again, and you would have companies like BlackRock and individual
Gobbling
investors
stuff
go in and capture this defaulting
Yeah.
And
real estate
and tranches.
and
They are not.
continue to absolutely destroy lower and middle class America.
Okay.
No, I don't think that is a solution.
Okay.
And the way that's going to happen is credit card debt.
Well, that's my point. That's the point. If he
that's
keeps
the way
raising the rates, what's going to
Yeah,
cause the
yeah.
defaults is they're not going to be able to pay the credit cards.
So how much is
the debt? The debt's already spiraling out of control.
So how much is credit card debt or the acceleration of it impacting your ability to approve people right now?
It's a great question.
That typically has not been the problem.
How much credit card debt are our clients that you're seeing carrying on balance sheets here?
You're typically the people who are out there winning offers right now aren't.
Yeah.
I haven't seen a huge shift. I've had some people who have reached out for refinances who are kind of getting there, which is, can we get some cash to solve a problem? But in general, no, I haven't seen this as to be the black swan that we're describing.
So listen to what.
I expected actually to hear a different answer. So
Me too.
I'm glad to hear that.
Yeah.
So credit card debt is not.
He also said that if you have credit card debt, you're not winning deals right now. That's what the man just said, though.
Correct, because you don't have enough cash to bring to the table because all your cash is you've used your credit card as cash, right? Is that
I would
what
say
we're saying?
a large chunk of this
yeah.
country has credit card debt.
Well, I mean, you just got to read we just talked about don't read the news, but you do read the trusted advising, newspapers and reporting, and you'll see that, it's going up. So your theory is raise the rate.
I mean, I'm not a pro here. I'm a guy who just reads a lot of stuff here. The only way that I see that you can the quickest way that you can get inventory on the market is by doing what he said, and that's what I thought as well. But if you do that, there's so much pain and suffering that's going to go along with it, and I don't think they want to do it.
So what happened?
And the indications seem that he is throttling back on the hawkishness of what he is doing.
I still think you're going to see a quarter point. I'm pretty sure.
Well, we know May is going to happen. The question is, does it happen in June?
I think it will. Actually, I think they are trying to drive that down to 2%.
Was it Morgan Stanley who said it was a 25% chance that he was going to do a quarter point in June? I believe it was Morgan Stanley.
Yeah, I just.
So let's say that doesn't happen, Scott. Let's hope to God that doesn't happen. What's another way you get inventory on the
So
market?
that puts it at what?
Without rates falling.
Without rates falling.
You'd have to have.
Because I do think that if rates fell, inventory comes back on the market. Because if rates fall, someone like me is going to be able to justify, my 275 is in line with this new number, so I'm going to capitalize on this equity that I'm sitting on, and then my monthly nut on the new house that I upgrade to is not as severe the monthly payment, because the rate's in the 3-4% range.
Well, that's what I've been saying all along is the solution. But
that's also going to make things a lot more expensive.
It's a two-sided coin, because as you're waiting for that rate to come down, prices are continuing.
Oh, it's going to get more expensive.
It's going to get more expensive,
and you have more buyers.
And well, it depends. You might end up having less buyers. So if this hypothetical we're talking about, which is a scary thought, as one who lived through the time of great unpleasantness and knows what this impacts and before I lose my train of thought, what scares me about this conversation is what happened to the whole economy when housing blew up in 2007, 8, 9, and 10. It impacts everything.
So I guess here's the point there. It would be a different mechanic, so it wouldn't be housing that collapses. I still think that auto loans are a very dangerous one. Given the amount that it costs to purchase, the length of time these loans are taken out for, and I think that's probably more dangerous. But then again, so you get more. So there's still subprime lending that exists on autos because people may not pay their mortgage, but they're going to pay their car note so that they've got a way to get back and forth to a job. It's literally the last thing that is lost. So I don't think housing is the trigger. I'm sure there's people much smarter than I am who are attached to what it could be, but certainly there's going to have to be some sort of some event that occurs that triggers something has to break before it gets better.
So again,
I don't know what that something is.
Well,
Carly Wagner says the ongoing trend to corporate ownership and move toward limiting personal property. Carly watching the program. We love when you comment. Neil Williamson said, Jerry Miller is right. Albemarle County Planning Commissioner Julian Bivens said last night he did not believe there is community appetite for increased density, nor is there political will to expand the development areas. Don't look for exponential increases in inventory in Albemarle County anytime soon.
And
there's no political capital.
Isn't that the mustache? Is it density the mustache?
That was Charlottesville City.
Charlottesville City.
Yeah, and I think Neil knows.
I forget that there's a difference between.
Neil knows he has lost that bet. Keith has won that bet.
Wait, mustache lives to ride again.
Brother, don't jinx me.
It's
We're
June
not there.
19th.
We're not
okay,
there
it's
yet.
June 19th. It's April 26th.
We're
It has
not
not happened.
there yet.
We're less than 2 months away.
I
Albemarle County.
might actually win a bet. Who knows?
I like the fact that I just got to say mustache ride on television on the show. and
Mustache
nobody flinched
Ride.
at it.
You know what that's a reference? What movie? Scott, don't tell him. What movie was that in? Mustache Ride? Keith, do you ever say out loud you want to? Okay, I'll stop right now.
I'm
Judah's
just trying to
loving it
wonder
over-
what movie
It's
Scott.
it's Super
you guys-
Troopers.
It's Super Troopers. It's an
yeah,
effing great
wouldn't
movie.
have-
Scott and I are essentially the same age
Yeah, would
and have
not.
the same habits for.
If it was a Monty Python reference, I might get it. But
Super Troopers.
That's it. So here's the situation, though. Look,
We should be honest with everyone. This area is not getting more affordable. We're not getting any more inventory. Albemarle County is not expanding the development area. The upzoning in Charlottesville City is not going to create affordability. Okay, it's time to be. There are a lot of people coming to this area with high-paying jobs. We talk Paul Manning Biotech Institute, we talk data science, we talk 2 new hotels on Ivy Road, we talk conference centers, we talk UVA expanding here, we talk STEM, we talk engineering, Willow Tree, we talk hedge funds. I mean, come on, we got to be frank.
no, I'm Keith, but that's okay. So
You've used that one before.
I have.
I think that's from Naked Gun. I think that is from Naked Gun with Liam Neeson.
No. So you're talking about
No, I'm pretty sure that's from Naked Gun, that line.
Is it Frank or is it Don't Call Me Shirley?
That's also from Naked Gun.
No, I think that's from Airplane.
Oh, Liam Neeson. Maybe I'm
No,
thinking
Air-
Liam
it's,
Neeson. Okay.
It's Airplane. But anyway,
Okay.
so Don't Call Me Shirley. All I can think of is I go back to my friend Robert Liberty. There is not going to be one silver bullet. There's going to be the silver buckshot. But you're right, and I think we've been talking about this quite extensively. There's going to be some incremental changes going up, very small incremental changes going up, but unless there's some tragic, thing that impacts the whole country at once, you're not going to see this buyer pool drop down, right? There's too many buyers in there that are capable of buying. I mean, a prime example, right? 33 of the last 80 sales was cash. Where the hell did that cash come from, right?
It's people moving in from out of the area.
It's people moving out from another area, people selling from one thing, cashing out, moving in, whatever it is. But to Jerry's point, it's going to come in here. So you're 100% right. 5% is the political will to grow the 5% is not going to get there. I'm confident, because that's just the way I am, we're going to get a much better developer incentives, and we may be able to get a little bit more inventory going. You're going to see Green grow up. Green is going to be active, but that's going to hit a ceiling pretty soon. The folks, the NIMBY folks out in Green are going to probably jump in pretty quickly once these 1,800 start rolling in the ground. And that's going to happen. Fulvana's out. Nobody's building anything in Fulvana. Louisa is starting to get that way. The Louisa County Board of Supervisors is, it's hard to get a project approved. So everything in our footprint.
I saw that Stonewall Harley-Davidson, previously Wall Harley-Davidson, is moving to Greene County.
Neil Williamson, who's watching this program, one of his stringers, fantastically talented correspondent Brent Wilson, broke that news on the Free Enterprise Forum website. Brent Wilson, one of the godfathers of volleyball in the area, broke the news of Harley-Davidson, Orange County, moving to Greene.
It's amazing all the stuff he's got stuck in between.
I do,
those
I know.
ears.
It's fun.
It's really amazing.
Very photographic-esque.
Yeah. I was
Used
like,
it for good and bad.
I can
So-
imagine. I was like, oh, that's bullshit.
I've used
Damn
it,
it, he's
I've
right.
used it for bad as well.
One of the things the NIMBYs were going after in Greene last year was the glamping
Oh, yeah.
site, which seems to have made it through. And
That was only by one. That had 2 tries. It only got passed by 1 vote, if I'm not mistaken. Neil will correct me if I'm wrong.
Glamping's a no-brainer. Why would they not want elevated tourism in their county? And then
So-
the people leave after spending money.
So
they don't
this-
tax their schools and their roads and their infrastructure.
This is the shift, right? I'm looking at a spreadsheet.
One of the reasons Free Enterprise Forum has got such great Greene County coverage is because the president of the forum lives in Greene County, as does ACE correspondent Brent Wilson.
Yeah, I think he goes where the the business and the news
I
is.
don't see
But-
Neil often in Louisa County. Do you see Neil in Louisa?
I'm going to change subject.
Do you see him in
'Cause I don't
Orange?
know the answer.
Okay, the answer
I
is
don't know
no.
the answer to it.
He's in Almaro. He's in Green.
Well, I don't think physically. Anyway, I'm going to move on. But I'm working on a spreadsheet, which is interesting, and I don't have an answer to it yet. But I'm looking at Fluvanna County's tax assessment. They set their rate last Wednesday, right? So I just actually happened to take a look at what my mother and father are paying, and I've been talking about this for a while. Their mom and dad are paying 17% more cash this coming year than they did the last year. So to them, that's $380.16. But their value, their assessed value went from 264 up to 318. That's a 20% gain in assessed value year over year. This is not market, this is just this tax thing. And it's interesting, so I'm looking at, I just did a quick 10-unit assessment at the lake. Everything that's under around the $300,000 range is having somewhere mid double digits, between 15 and 20% increase. The people that are like in the 400 to 600 range are only having low single digit. So what's happening is the people that can least afford it are paying more, which is kind of how this stuff usually goes. The people that live in the more expensive homes have incremental increases. For instance, mine is only 2%, right? And mine jumped, and I don't have a problem telling you everybody this because it's public. My 2022 assessment went from 502, and mine now is 523. I'm only paying 2%. I'm paying $68 a year more in my house, and my parents are paying almost $400 more.
$400 is a boatload of money for a retired couple with no revenue coming in.
And we're fortunate they can move in with us.
I know. I
But-
mean, it's just.
So 2%. My cash went up. I'm going to pay an extra $68 a year. My parents are going to pay nearly $400. I'm looking at another one that's 212 versus 214. Another street, a home. They're going up 15%. They're paying $300 more. Another one at 219. They're paying $400 more. It's not equalized. I can tell you that much.
Pop,
Anyway.
Lenny, and what's your mom's
Tina.
name?
Tina.
I love them,
Supermom. Yeah.
and I don't even know them. I know Lenny. I know Pop.
You know Pop.
I've never
you met my
Tina.
mother.
I've met her briefly
You met my mother.
at
yeah.
the after party of
Yep.
your youngest daughter's wedding
Yeah.
at Ix Park.
Yeah. Hey, speaking.
I believe I was eating. What food did you have there? I know you had cold beer. You had food though. It was very good.
He thinks I'm actually going to remember that.
You paid for it.
Yeah, but that's.
I tell you what, I never got to eat them, but for
I
instance,
think we did tacos.
Yeah,
We
that's right.
did Brazos.
There you go. I knew
We
you would
opened up-
remember.
we
There was
opened up a
Brazos
tab.
at the place, and you had an open tab.
We opened up a tab.
I went and got 2 or 3 tacos.
Two
and
or
had
three dozen, did he say?
2 or 3 tacos and two cold beers,
There you go.
and it was fun, Keith.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
We,
And I sat on the cooler in the shade. There was such a little shade on that day.
Talk to
There
Pop.
there was one tree with one little piece of shade over
Everybody's
there.
huddled.
Yeah.
Everybody's huddled around it. Yeah, it's everybody needs to be patient. Everybody needs to be understanding. This is going to be difficult. This business that we all do. This sphere of housing. Everybody that's on the partners tab at Real Talk.
The supply chain.
On the supply chain. This is what we're experiencing now, unless there is a pop goes the weasel moment. Sorry, just trying to make a little fun out of it. That we all don't control. This is just going to be a struggle for a long
For a long time.
time.
For a very long time. It's not, this isn't going to be solved anytime soon. That's why, to Scott and Keith's point, take the sting now as opposed to taking the sting 24 months from now, because the sting is not going to get any easier to swallow or handle.
Well, I know this off the top of my head because I look at Lake Monticello. You gained 10% in your value if you bought a home last year versus now first quarter.
That's
That's crazy.
You gain
It's crazy.
10%.
Yeah. That's crazy. And I don't see any signs this is going to slow down.
The 21, I talk about this all the time, the 21-year running spreadsheet, which I update at the end of every year, is about 5.5% for our region. And that includes a time of great unpleasantness where everything went down. So, over the course of 21 years, the average is 5.5% year-over-year appreciation. Some a little bit low, some a little bit higher.
This is a good question from Spencer for Scott. How many of the deals being done you guys were talking about were cash? How many have been done that are cash in the area now?
I don't see cash, so.
You said you can call that up, right?
I just did. So out of 80,
No,
out
for
of
the whole year, he says.
year to date.
Yeah.
Well, if you give me, you talk a little bit while I can get you that information.
Year to date, he's going to give us cash deals in the car footprint. That's amazing that you can give us that information right there. And you think the cash deals are people coming in from out of the area that have sold their house?
Absolutely.
That's what's happening?
Yeah.
Unbelievable. This is so crazy. And do you think this is all the collateral damage still of COVID?
Yes. Yes. I think that, and I think I think the hangover is longer than we think it is.
The hangover is still going on.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna do.
This is what happens when we allow the government to try to intervene with things. Right here. This is what happens. Right, Judah? Judah's nodding his head as well.
So I'm going to do Albemarle County because it's just going to take me a little too long to go ahead and build it up for the whole jurisdiction. So just hang on for 1 minute. folks.
Albemarle County is good. You're using Paragon to figure that out?
Yeah. There's I learned something the other day.
I learned this today. Well Hung Vineyards, there's 3 of them. Gordonsville first, Roanoke second, Charleston third. There's 3 Well Hung Vineyards points of sale. I'm seeing this in the comment section as Jamie Turner, who's repping the PEP, is interacting with Neil Williamson while the show is going on. Neil, I didn't realize the brand was expanding like that. Well done. He was a partner in that.
Really?
Yeah, Well Hung Vineyards.
I did not know that they were in Charleston. That's interesting.
I didn't know that either. Neil.
So Albemarle County. Attached, detached, total sales from January 1 to today, there's 269, 87 were cash, 145 were fixed.
So 269 total in Albemarle County year to date,
269,
okay? And how many
87.
were cash?
87.
Wow.
You're doing the percentage?
Yeah.
Okay. So conventional arm was only 5, FHA 7, non-specific, God only knows what
So
that
you're
is.
talking 32 and a half.
About a
32,
third.
33.
About
A
a
third
third.
of the deals in Albemarle County year to date
About a
have
third.
been all cash. That's a stat right there.
Let's see what Charlottesville's doing.
I'm gonna save that stat. I'm gonna write that down. A third of the deals year to date in Albemarle County have been all cash. All cash. What do you make of that, Scott?
I think that's super interesting. I wonder how that relates historically.
I actually could do that. That takes a little bit of doing to go ahead to do it live, but I could take a look at it real quick. I'm looking at.
How about this question that's coming in? Does anyone on this show think the new phenomenon of outside buyers bringing in bags of money is going to stop anytime soon? I've been living in the area for 40 years, and this has been happening all my life.
Well,
That we talked about
That's a
from
great
the
comment.
beginning with how Lake Monticello was originally marketed. And if we continually, I guess eventually, with enough government interference, you can certainly lose your top cities in America challenge. But it's a nice place to live. There's the university and the government drive a lot of the financial energy. There's enough. It's been protected very well from a zoning. Like we don't look like Harrisonburg or some of the
Fredericksburg.
other Fredericksburg. The strip, like you don't drive into a bunch of strip malls. While I think Albemarle is kind of insane with some of their signage rulings and what you have to go through for Jerry with his awning and some of the other different things that you constantly fight.
Crackle Barrel,
Yeah.
Olive Garden,
Yeah.
gentlemen's clubs.
Yeah. So.
City of Charlottesville, 91 transactions, 42 of them were cash.
Ooh, what was that stat?
So there's 91 sales.
91 sales, City of Charlottesville year to date.
Charlottesville, that is, hold on a second here. That is, that's everything. Let me go ahead and.
How many of the 91 are cash year to date?
41.
Yeah,
Jeez
but
Louise.
let me clean it up a little bit here. Yeah, so that's everything. That's detached, attached, and condos. So that's everything that has sold. There's 91, 50% of them were cash.
Did you guys hear that? I mean, that's why the young millennial and the Gen Zer is so pissed.
Yeah. Yeah,
That's why there's so much angst with
1,000%. Like the phone call and
What?
like started with Scott. I just want to tell you that the housing market right now is bullshit.
Yeah. So the person that called you was a young millennial?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
What have I mentioned before? What this is really going to come down to? This is going to be a generational thing. It's not going to be interest rates. It's not going to be. It will be a generational thing.
How the heck, Judah, I mean, if you want to offer any perspective, jump in. City of Charlottesville, year to date, there's been 91 sales, 91 deals done in real estate. 41 of those deals have been all cash.
42.
42 of those have been all cash.
So-
Do you hear that, viewers and
So
and
let's
listeners?
compare this to the same period last year. So 149 units sold, 57 of them were cash. So so 85 were conventional or some other form of it. So out of a total of 149, 57 were cash.
I don't think people really truly appreciate the significance of what you just said, or even understood that it was this kind of significance happening. Because you think that it's only a small percentage of what's happening. You're talking a third of the deals in Albemarle and half in the city. Like, people don't realize this is happening.
But you have to take a look at what was going on the first quarter of last year.
Do local government officials realize these stats?
Yeah.
Do local government officials realize these stats? That in Charlottesville City, 91 sales year to date and half have been all cash? Like, does council know that?
Yeah, I would think I know they know it from me. I definitely know they know it from. I know Neil talks to them on a regular basis. So yes, the answer is yes.
I guess the more important question is, do they care?
Do they care? That is a more important question. Or maybe this is even a more important question. Can they do anything about it?
No.
There you go. Quentin Beckham, what can they do about it? Neil, what can they do about it? You got the folks down the street at NBC 29 watching right now. What can they do about it? You want folks to interview? Scott, mortgages, Keith, real estate. Hit them up with DMs, they'll get you on TV. I mean, there's nothing you can do about it here. We just need to be straightforward with everybody. What are you looking at now? Which jurisdiction?
I'm looking at Lake Monticello.
Year to date, how many have cash?
Yeah,
I bet you that number's a lot. That number's lower.
I'm working on that as you are chatting.
You disagree?
Say that again now.
I
No,
bet you
he said he bets that number is low.
The percentage of cash buyers is
I would
lower
agree
I
with
bet it's lower.
compared to Charlottesville now.
I would agree with
20%?
that.
If I put the over-under at 30, I would take it under 30%.
Agreed.
If you put the over-under at 25%, probably take it under 25%.
So 2210 were cash, 41 were conventional. That's in 22.
Lake Monticello?
Lake Monticello. You know, I'm doing this live, folks. So don't.
We appreciate what you're doing
Yeah,
on the
you're
Paragon.
rolling,
a little patient.
No, it's good. It's good. So, I mean, it's not going to be resolved anytime soon is the point of this talk show right now. That's the point. And the comments that we're going to get to here, I'll throw to Scott and then you here, Keith. And
This year, 10 were cash, year to date.
and how many total?
52.
Okay, so I was right. 52 total sales.
So it's the where that matters. So Charlottesville, you've seen a little bit more cash, right? They're higher dollar sales. Let's go back to Charlottesville here.
The stat that I threw out on the I Love Seville show on Monday, University of Virginia, the McIntyre School of Commerce, its finance program is graduating students at the highest or starting earning salary of any public university in America. Any public university in America, the kids with the finance degrees out of UVA, McIntyre School of Commerce, are coming out with the highest starting salaries. And these are the folks eventually that are returning to Charlottesville and starting their lives.
Well, like a third of them probably go to work for Bloomberg because they have an enormous UVA channel.
Right? That's what I'm saying. And you know what? The pipeline is only going to get stronger as these convention center and hotels have been erected on Ivy Road. The folks are doing recruiting events, staying in the hotel,
Absolutely.
and then doing the hiring, same events at the same locations. It's just a fantastic pipeline that's being created here at the University of Virginia. We're talking sales in Albemarle County, Charlottesville City, and Lake Monticello, and how many were cash. Keith is putting together a pretty significant matrix as we speak on Paragon. Which is the jurisdiction you're looking at now, Keith?
I'm back. I'm fact checking Charlottesville just to make sure that I actually did give the right information. So I need another minute, gentlemen.
Absolutely. How about this comment that's come in from Jonathan for Scott? Is he still confident that rates are going to crack 5% by the end of the year?
I mean, I think we're declining. I mean, I think we're,
What's 30-year fixed good credit at now?
Low to mid sixes, and low sixes is probably really where we are. But that's going to spike back up, probably into the mids, and then we're, to give an example, I had an FHA borrower paying almost very little in discount points. Who was in the fives locked yesterday. So
That's pretty damn good.
So I just rechecked Charlottesville. I wanted to make sure I did the math right and looked at it. So 2023, there was a year-to-date 91 sales, 42 were cash, 40 were the rest of them were either conventional or some of these other options. 2022, there was 149 sales. So this is everything attached, detached, and condos. 57 were cash. The rest were some other loan product in it. So
That was Charlottesville City?
yeah. it was
Give
just
those stats again for 2022?
So 23.
This is 2023? Okay.
2023, 91 sales. This is detached, attached, and condos.
Okay.
42 were cash. The rest were some other loan product. In 22, there was 149 sales from the first until today. 57 were cash. The balance were some other loan product in that. I just
So
wanted
the
to double
cash,
check.
the cash buyers are escalating.
Well, and we were talking amongst ourselves here for a quick. The reason why 2022 didn't use so much cash, why would you use cash at 2?
Well, because the rates were so low.
Yeah. So,
Well, for the first half of the year.
well, we're looking at the first quarter, right? So it's quarter
which
to
goes
quarter.
back to the argument of also when investors were the most active was when things cash flowed the best.
Yeah.
The
Prices.
opportunities there. So if we saw some catastrophic, some black swan event where all of a sudden we had tons of inventory come back on and rates were to fall to support a struggling economy, you would see investors immediately jumping back into the game.
Yeah, I don't even think if we drop rates that it's going to help with affordability at all. I think you're just going to see more people jumping in and driving prices up. It's hard not to get dispirited for the folks.
Well, one of the results of the Regional Housing Partnership was
It's hard, but don't make it harder by stopping the process, because if this goes back into the best time to buy real estate was yesterday and the next best day is today, then let's keep pursuing the dream.
That's well said. That's very well said. But the folks are doing it at a clip that the folks at this table maybe did not have to do. I'm talking about a speed.
So a question for Scott. So if we go, because this is the first time I really took a deep dive into the cash, and doing it live on a show is probably not the right way to do it, but I'll have more for Friday when I get a chance to sit down and do it. But let's say if interest rates drop to 5, that in theory should kick some of the cash folks out, right? Right, they're going to be kind of going back to 2022 a little bit.
You would think that they'd start exploring their options more than and keeping that cash, for other things.
I mean, the reality of it is we all need to come together and figure out how to change this inventory.
luck.
I'm probably going to get kicked off the Thomas Jefferson Planning District Commission because of the statement. But, building more houses will help. More inventory. It's just Econ 101, right? It's a supply and demand kind of thing.
Well, that's what I believe needs to be incentivized more than anything else.
So hopefully the Regional Housing Partnership, under my mentorship apparently that I'm doing, we're going to have a roundtable discussion with all the players for Albemarle County anyway to figure out how to do this incentive program, because the one that's on the table right now equals 0 new homes, and I think they realize that. So maybe we're going in the right direction.
Oh, I just got a direct message from someone at UVA that says the Hampton Inn and Suites in Charlottesville at the university has been acquired.
Oh.
By the university?
The Hampton Inn on West Main Street.
right
I literally am reading this in real time. Located on Main Street, adjacent to UVA and the UVA Medical Center, the Hampton Inn and Suites in Charlottesville at the university has been acquired. Noble Investment Group has acquired the Hampton Inn and Suites right next to the UVA Hospital on West Main Street.
It's across from the Katie Couric.
Cancer Center?
Yeah.
That's pretty
literally right
significant
across from
purchase.
it,
That's
yeah.
a hotel on West Main Street.
Yeah.
There you go. All right, gentlemen, 11:27 on a Wednesday.
All that tells you is business is being done and people are moving. I just don't, this is a great place to live. Otherwise, they wouldn't be spending the money to go ahead and buy something.
We live in a place everyone wants to live.
Hey, is there a hotel somebody could finish on the downtown mall?
The guy pretty much told everybody he's not going to do anything until he gets hooked up.
Until he gets what?
Hooked up from
Really, until
Charlottesville
the city
City.
invents-
I think that was a big you-know-what.
He told Charlottesville City, I'm not doing anything unless you hook me up.
Yeah.
So it's either going to be free parking or subsidized parking for the hotel and Water Street or Market Street Garage, or it's going to be some serious credits, tax credits, construction, or on the back end. But this dude ain't doing anything until the city hooks him up. Interestingly, and I'm not trying to throw anybody under the bus here because it's Real Talk with Keith Smith. Got different rules here than the I Love Seville show. But a deal was put together that Michael Payne, in a lot of ways, kiboshed. Like, this deal was put together by former Mayor Mike Signer.
So I think you needed to take a look at who was there at the whole time. I don't think you have the leadership structure that you have now. I think if that deal was on the table now, it would probably have different results.
Oh, 100%.
Different results.
100%. At that time, that was chaos. That council was chaos.
It was.
That was when Mike Signer was using a burner email account to correspond with reporters at the Daily Progress about stuff that was happening on council in closed session.
Jesus Christ.
He's the mayor. All right, some final thoughts. Keith Smith, show's yours.
Yeah, final thoughts is I'm on water instead of coffee, and Mr. Smith needs to.
He needs to hit the head.
I need to hit the head. But look, homes are being sold. Reach out to your trusted advisors. We got one of them sitting to my right, sitting at the table, Scott Morris. The pool of folks to talk to is there. Be patient, as you just said. Yesterday was a really good day to buy. Today's a great day to buy. If you can't buy today, buy tomorrow. Stay in the game because these numbers are appreciating. You're going to be chasing an ever increasing value, and get in that game now and get that value to be yours. And let's be kind to one another because some stories I've heard from the real estate agents that I was talking to, letting them know, appreciated the way I did it because some of them just don't even call them back. They just put it in pending and they're left holding the bag trying to explain it to your client. So let's be professional, pick up the phone, be kind to one another and talk to the other side so they can talk to their client to stay in the game.
Beth Lewis, watching on Facebook. Fantastic show today, gentlemen. I try to tune in as much as possible.
Thank you.
I very much enjoy the Wednesday shows. Scott Morris, some closing thoughts.
Open your mind if you're out there looking and you haven't had success to all of your opportunities. So if if you've been looking at choice properties and seeing how many offers you've been battling against in doing so, take a look at reaching out to a contractor who can walk through a property with you and determine an amount of cost involved in getting that into the condition that you like to see it. And once you have that information, then let's look at what a renovation loan looks like and what your next steps would be. Other than that, if you're out there and that's not for you, then and you're just going to continue to strike the anvil, well, then let's just keep going after it. And don't become emotionally attached to everything that you do, because what really matters is the end goal, and the process is just the process.
Nice. Scott Morris, there's your third sizzle reel right there. Well done, Scotty Mo. Keith Smith, Yes Realty Partners, a Platinum Award winner.
Platinum.
Keller Williams Friday Party. This man leaves with some hardware. YRP, well done. Scotty Mo and the team at Ross Mortgage have a boatload of production hardware. Scott Morris and his team will help you get in a home that's going to get you happy and build in equity, folks. Ross Mortgage, Scott Morris.
Friday, Batman and Robin.
I like it.
Bring your Robin. We're going to have fun.
I like it. Keith Smith, Scott Morris, Judah Wickower, Jerry Miller. I Love Seville show in 58 minutes. Take care. Well done, gentlemen. Keith, you're sprinting. I see that.